See. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi,
Welcome everyone to Wednesday Wisdom. Hey Alicia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Danielle?
I'm doing good. Let me turn up my volume so we can hear you. I love your hair today. It looks awesome.
Thanks.
I'm rocking the where do we go? The hat.
I know. I need me one of those. I left mine when I was there.
We all need one of these, don't we? Mine's a little dirty until I use it a lot. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for joining us. It is Wednesday Wisdom, and we are coming to you today to talk about something that actually Alicia just said. You're very calm today. It's kind of perfect for what we're going to talk about, which is the difference or similarities between being versus doing. And Alicia and I got on here like a couple minutes early, and I was like, I have a couple things. Let me just go over with you because normally it's just blah, 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 we just ramble, right? Normally we are very much being present, but I had a couple of things I wanted to make sure we hit on, and she dived right into it, talking about how she struggles a little bit with like being present versus just diving into things and doing them. So I just want to get into it. I want to hear from you, Alicia. Like, well, first, let's think about our week. You were just telling me what you've been doing all week.
Oh, I've been doing a lot. But also, you have to remind yourself to just be in the moment presently. I've had a lot of shoots, about 7 or 8. Back to back to back. So like I'm a little overwhelmed. Like I gotta edit. But really just have
to a lot for anybody who's shooting.
Yeah, stay calm and just be in one thing at a time for sure. When I think of these words too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and taking it one step at a time is remembering to be present, because that's a lot. And it's hard to focus nowadays. It's hard to, but when we talk about this all the time, that like, when the pressure's on, we feel like we do our best. So when you have those expectations and you put all these actions on your calendar and you're like, I have so much to do, then your expectations, you don't want to drop them, right? So you very much have to stay present and be really focused to make sure you hit all those. So how'd you do in your shoots?
Oh, I did great. They all went super smooth. And, I mean, there's obviously always some sort of hiccups, and you got to kind of bob and weave to, make stuff happen.
Talk about one. What was the hiccup that you didn't expect, but you had to just kind of go with the flow and be in the moment?
An engagement shoot that they brought their dogs, and I totally didn't know that they were going to bring their dogs. It was great. It was great, but it's like,
that's
and or one shoot to the next. Like I had to be prepared for my day, like a big salon shoot actually to an event. Like I had maybe a half an hour window time to get from one to the other. So that was a lot of doing and just being in the moment, trying to make everybody happy. So
I can relate to that. I just finished up a 6-week project of those preschool shoots, and when we are crunched for time, and I know I can't miss one step in the process. My tethering has to be on, my lighting has to be on. All these little elements have to be like prepared and ready before that first kid comes in. And it's like you have to be present to all this technical stuff and be prepared for it. But then you're talking to the director and you're making sure the kids are happy and you're making sure they're lined up, and you have to be present to all these people that you're talking to as well. And, just set up and being technical versus being in the moment with people and trying to do that at the same time is a huge bobbing and weaving to being in the moment and
just being yourself, uniquely yourself too, and being professional as well, and making new friends, meeting new connections and networks and stuff. It's a lot. It can be a lot for sure. Overwhelming. to say the least.
If we keep, well, yeah, if you're doing 8 shoots in a week, congratulations. That's awesome. Don't overwhelm yourself, but having that and putting that pressure on is great to see how you can be in the moment and handle it. And even at every given stage, even if you're not doing 8 shoots a month, and even if you're just in one shoot, you're just starting out, or this could, as we always say, it's not just about photography. This is about life, and that's what I love so much that, Live Wonderful stands for, is like, storytelling is who we are as people. And if we're all interested in capturing stories now, just as much as we've always loved telling stories, then we have to know why we want to tell them. We have to be present to what we're connected to in that moment. And being present is what's going to drive that story, drive us to tell it, drive us to capture it, and experience it. So it is a bobbing and weaving, but it's also it's chicken before, which one comes first, chicken or the egg? I really think being present has to come first. And that's where you get a clear picture. That's where you get your ideas from. And you can then move forward with all of those ideas into doing something. But it's hard sometimes to be present. And I wanted to bring up something that I thought of right before we got on here, that I feel like I have all these tools in my tool belt of years of just self-development, curiosities, learning about religions and the history of the world and just things that I've always been interested in. I feel like I have these tools that I can always reach for to help me get present, to help me get out of that craziness, that noise. And
there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of noise. If you pay attention, there's a lot of noise. And I try to, shut that out when I'm done those things, or, talking with all those people. You have to. It's like, ooh, that's a lot. Don't turn the TV on. Like, just, I have to every day I have to come to that quiet zone within myself to.
And if you can't, having that quiet, that peace, if you can't find that presence for any amount of time, you need to go set it on your calendar. That's a whole nother level. You should definitely be able to have that.
Everything on my calendar.
Yes, you need to have that. But even when you're in those crazy moments and you're trying to be present amongst the noise that you can't get away from, one of my favorite tactics and tools that I learned from my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Maureen Dinkins. She has a YouTube channel. She's a yoga instructor. And she has this amazing meditation, which is simply take a deep breath and listen on your out breath for the furthest sound. Just wherever you are in the world. You can be standing in line at the grocery store. But if you're feeling anxious or crazy, or you can't get back to that moment of being, especially if you're behind a camera or in front of a camera and you're trying to create that story, take a deep breath and just listen. Get out of your visual cortex and get into another sense, right? Listen or feel for something. And listening for the furthest sound is it just feels like such an easy thing to do that if I can remember it, it automatically brings you into the present moment and makes you go, wait, here's my tiny window of quiet, peaceful space to then
to really listen. What's the furthest sound you can hear when you stop all the other noise and really listen?
Yeah.
And noise inside your head too. Yeah.
Totally
it ends up being the noise inside our heads that are crazy. This is another thing I actually pulled up yesterday that if you want to have a great day, you can ask yourself these questions every morning. What your one goal for today is. And just one. Personal, mostly personal, because we never really take care of ourselves, we're always doing for other things in life. So what is that one goal every day, and decide who you're going to be that day. Am I going to be a good listener? Am I going to be present? Am I going to, you know what I mean? Pick those two things every day.
And I love writing that down. Everyone should be writing that down right now. I love that. Did you guys hear that? Hi, Kristen. Hey, Yvette. They're over there on Instagram.
Yeah, what's your one goal? It could be
what's your one goal? One goal for today.
One personal goal for the day.
And what was the other one?
Decide who you're going to be today.
I love that. So if you guys haven't, I think it was.
Who that is? You want to know who that is?
Oh, yeah. Who said it?
Mel Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
Go follow her. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she inspires me for sure. And when I watched a little video yesterday, I was like, ooh, I love that. Like, that is a moment of present, gratitude within oneself too, and self-awareness, which is great. So
I love the who are you going to be? Because first of all, asking a question to yourself is a great way to just change your perspective, right? To just step out of your head for a minute and like really find some truth to it, to whatever you're doing in that moment. And, something I always do, I always catch myself or find that moment to anchor into these kind of words we're talking about is when I feel like shit. When I'm like in this icky mood, I'm like, all right, Danielle, you got to what are you doing? It's time to come back to a present moment. And so coming back to something like when you're in one of those crazy, noisy moments or you're in a bad mood, wait, what was that goal I had for today? Or who did I say I was going to be? Because obviously I'm not being who that person is right now. And first of all, defining that and creating that as a habit is a challenge in itself. And I want to acknowledge that because I have tried year after year. And what ends up happening is we all fall back into old habits, but we can replace those old habits as we gain new knowledge about ourselves, right? So the more we can kind of find time to do this, we're going to remember these things. And in a month from now, when you said twice, I want to be a good listener, you're already going to be a good listener. You're already going to be in the moment. It's not going to have to be an anchor that feels like homework or you're trying to figure out. It's just going to feel natural to have that definition in your head and let it kind of drive how you do things. I think it was today or Monday's post that we said being is the root of doing. And, something I want to do is ask myself, who do I want to be? And pulling in those things like being a good listener, that's great. But you can also apply it to our work and our pictures. So I want to bring that up. I want to bring up some photos that were kind of these moments where I would have never gotten this shot if I hadn't been totally present to what was just already happening out there in front of me.
Yeah, our, highest level of creativity, consists of in the being and not the doing, I guess,
It's where it stems from. I think, I don't remember who said it, don't quote me on this, but there's this whole saying that, first of all, everyone is creative, just a fact. And so the only way to tap into that creativity is by finding a new moment, a new beginning, which is why kids are always easily creative because they're always present to what's new and curious about the moment. Whereas us adults think we already know everything. So we just go.
What's funny is I'm sure you have this happen to you on like family or kids shoots. Like as adults, we're trying to we have this picture in our head, like this family photo that's perfection, and it's set up where I'm posing everybody appropriately, but the kids are literally being in the moment. And I always say the kids dictate the shoot. Like, let's just run with them. And then if it happens and they come and hug you and whatever, like, let's just make it. And those are those moments where I think in the being, you can be creative, but everybody has it up in their mind. I want it this way. I want it, but it doesn't always happen like that.
I know if Kristen and Yvette are still listening, they know exactly what that's about. Kids and photographing kids.
It can be frustrating, but you just have to let go and trust that in the being, especially with kids, they know how to just be. So capture that.
Exactly, exactly. Can you see my screen right now, Alicia?
Yeah.
You see that weird picture? Do you know what that is? I don't know if you've ever seen this image before.
I've never seen this image, but I'm assuming it's the moon.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna see. Can you still see it?
Yeah.
Although I don't like it with the black edges. I'm gonna come out of that. That's okay. So this was crazy, and this is we all love to shoot different things. My whole theory is like I can't decide. I just play with any story that really drives me and makes me inspired to capture it. So in a lot of those cases, that's travel and landscapes. And I might show up to a place with this plan, right? And like this vision of what it's going to look like and what the picture's going to be. But when you're dealing with nature and weather and the sky, you never can ever predict what it's going to be. You just can't. So I had this whole plan to capture a moon all the way in the sky already. And while I'm setting up, it didn't dawn on me that the moon was going to rise. and this is like 4:30 in the morning. So I am like, it's pitch black. I have a headlamp on, and I'm standing there at the beach, and I'm like, Jim, turn your phone off, turn the light off. I need to test this light. And I was shooting the stars, and he's like, I don't have my phone on. It's not on. And I look up, and the freaking moon is glowing, coming out of the horizon. And I'm like flabbergasted. I've never seen this in my life. And it's moving. Like I can literally see the moon. It's moving like this all the way up in the sky. And I'm like, Jim, oh my God, I don't know what to do with that because it's so bright. And it was moving so fast. I had no idea what my settings should be.
Yeah.
Like,
I get to that point too, where like, oh, wait, I have to think. Oh my God. And it happens so quickly too that you're like, ah.
Yeah. And so it took me in the dark, not only 5 minutes to get my tripod and camera situated, to then realize, oh, I need my trigger. I have to leave it open longer than 30 seconds. And then I'm like, wait, the moon's moving too fast. I want to freeze it. So then I'm like pumping up my ISO, and then I'm trying to change my focus to infinite. Bottom line is, this was the best shot I got 6 years ago before I knew how to really work with a rising moon. But I never gave up, and you can call this a wrong or out of focus or bad photo. I really point out this moment because all of that still was captured in a beautiful moving shot of this moon that's a little overexposed, but the whole scene looks really interesting. And if I hadn't stuck with the moment and stayed present to all these things that were happening, I wouldn't have gotten anything. It would have been a white blur or a black screen.
You have to start somewhere. I mean, to be honest, it looks like a lemon.
Yes.
In the cloud.
Yeah, it's very
really cool, actually.
So here's another fun one that was totally unplanned, but with a bit more expertise under my belt. A couple years ago, we went to the Delicate Arch in Moab, Utah. And that spotlight that you see sitting there, which, guys, anybody who's listening in on Instagram, excuse my dog, by the way, you guys can join us on the actual class and see some of these photos, but you can also check out all of these videos that we do over on our Instagram page. So the YouTube page. So the YouTube page is going to have these photos we're talking about here. So that little spotlight that you see down in the middle lower center there is actually a human being with a massive video spotlight, and it's casting, he's messing with it, he's moving it around. So it's pitch black, and I'm capturing the stars and getting these epic shots, and then all of a sudden he blasts even more light right on my focal point. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? Really? You had to come to a video the same night I hiked 4 miles up to this mountain in negative 10 degrees weather and ruin my shot.
He's painting with light in a way, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so I finally got the guts up to yell down into the canyon and say, hey, will you hold that steady for me? And he didn't even question it. He didn't ask why. He just said, yeah, for how long? I said 30 seconds because that's what I had set up on my shutter speed. So that's what I got. That was the shot. And funny enough, there's another shot I was able to get with him casting that light. And just to the left, I moved the frame a little to the left because I noticed, I was in the moment and noticed there was a couple proposing on the left side of this frame, and they were doing a long exposure of a heart with their phones. And I have a photo of them inside the heart making the final edge of the heart.
That's
so
cool.
I couldn't find that one, but it's on our Instagram feed. So if you want to go check it out, it's pretty amazing.
Look at the mountains in the background in the right.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible. I didn't even, yeah, that's cool.
That's the Rockies. Can I zoom in here?
Woo,
yeah, there's something about the West that just blows me away every time I go.
Oh, I want to be there right now.
So I have just a few more, but I want to share them together because they're about the same shoot. This was down at Lake Eola, and you know, the simple point of this one is, guys, when we're working with wildlife, we really have to be aware and in the moment and let them dictate the shoot, just like we do kids.
Yeah.
So I was setting up a cool shot to get the fountain and the city and the sunset, but the swan came across, and so I waited for, you know, that moment, and I was present watching him come across, and then snapped right at that exact moment when his silhouette could be in that sunset. So a lot of times it can be an instance that you go back to being present because you have a different story that you want to capture in your frame. And here's another one. I just wanted to capture our beautiful pagoda down there. Again, right at sunset. These frames were taken just a few minutes apart. But I didn't have a vision, right? So we talked last week about vision versus mission. I really didn't have a doing, a vision. I really was just or a vision. I really was just present to the moment. And when I saw those lines and patterns coming across the boardwalk there, I thought this will be really cool to kind of mimic the pagoda and kind of give it that mirroring effect. So a lot of times, guys, we can be somewhere and think we have an idea of what we want to do, but let it change. Be present to the moment. Use some of these tools we've talked about today, and
a little something like being versus doing. We can add this to even this photo. You know, if we focus our efforts on doing, we will always fall short of our real potential. So we can do all the right things, but if we do not do them for the right reasons, they will never have the power to change the internal view of life. So even just in this moment, you know, you didn't know that these cool lines were gonna, you know, be made from, you know, the sunset hitting the fence there. I mean, it's gorgeous. You wouldn't even know this is Orlando. You know what I mean? Like, it's really neat.
I love this shot. I love this shot. A couple of local features have been on this image. But you know, this is one of the many tours we do down there, is just getting the sunset and capturing those beautiful moments that are different every single day. Every single breath we take is a chance to look at it a little differently and be present. And you never know when you're going to get cool shots like this, or see something you might walk by every day and just see it a little differently and not feel like you're in Orlando anymore. So I want to
go out and just go on a road trip across the U.S. like me and Danielle did, and you'll just learn how to be instead of do.
Yeah, I did it for 18 months. I was just being present. I called it unplanned plans. You make a plan and then you throw it to the wind and see what happens, right?
Yeah. No, I would say everybody should experience that in life. It letting go of that control in a way.
Yeah.
'Cause we tend to control or try to control way too much in our lives. And the real happiness comes from just obviously being, and, you have to remind yourself of that every day.
100%. And that's why I'm so grateful for things like this, and being able to um,
Talk
hold
about it, voice it.
Yeah, like give us a space. And this goes for everybody who's listening in. I always want Live Wonderful to feel like a space where people can find that present moment and feel inspired to just come back to letting go and not really taking control of things, and realizing being alive is something we should be grateful for enough, and that's what the present moment.
We're human beings. We're not human doings.
Yeah. It's so true. Well, I just want to leave you guys with this picture. It's funny, Alicia, you mentioned the road trip, and this is actually one of the very last shots I took on that road trip. After I dropped you off in Albuquerque, I spent another 3.5 weeks driving across the country, and one of our last stops was someone else I inspired on my trip was my mother. And I don't even know if I had already dropped you off or not, but my mom called me while I was driving halfway across the country somewhere and said, "Man, I'm so happy for you and Alicia, and that you got to do that trip for 2 weeks and drive across and do all those great things. It was so fun to watch you guys on Instagram do that. And I just wish I could take off and do it." And I'm like, "Mom, you probably have 160. You can take off and just do that." So sure enough, she bought a ticket to Nashville. I picked her up in Nashville, and we drove up to Louisville and visited her cousins, hung out on a farm. I learned how to ride a horse. It was amazing. And then we ended up camping our way home because she was so inspired by us camping, me and you, that and this is the best part. This whole picture was a moment that happened between mother and daughters that I'm sure many mother and daughters have had. But she said to me as we're pulling into this campground, this photo was taken at a campground. It's called A Walk in the Woods. She says to me as we're pulling into the campground, she's like, "Your father's never taken me camping." And I'm like, "What? You are 50 some years old, 40 some years old. You've never been camping?" And mind you, those of you who don't know my mom, she's married to a man who's like the Steve Irwin of the Eastern Shore. He's so obsessed with nature, being out in nature.
I know. I can picture your dad like in like a tree hammock every other night.
So I'm, as the daughter of a woman who's shocking me with this information all of a sudden, I'm half frustrated because now I'm realizing I have to set up the whole damn campsite for us tonight as we're falling into this, and she is not going to be of help. And what's this going to lead to? But two, I was exhausted. I'd been driving all day and across the country, and I realized, God, why are we camping if you never camped before? We could have just gotten a hotel room and made this easy on both of us. And so we made a joke about it. I made a fire. She helped me make a fire. She does know how to do that. I'll give my mom that credit. Love you, Mom. And I set her up with her Netflix TV show at the picnic table, and I left. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go on a walk because I gotta get away from this. I gotta get away from you for a minute. And so this is what I did. So often, and on those travels is I just hung my camera around my neck and walked and had no plan and no goals. And what ended up happening was I found the sun disappearing in the woods. So I was walking, kind of chasing the sunlight in between these trees. But I also realized, oh, am I going to get lost in the woods? Like I had this little moment of fear of like, where's my mom? Because did I go too far? So I tell that story because, not only did it produce this awesome photo, but I've actually written and recorded a little story called A Walk in the Woods that goes along with that. And that was kind of just a preface to it. So if you want to hear that story, you guys can go finish it over on our Live Wonderful YouTube channel. Just look up A Walk in the Woods. And there's actually 10 of those stories on there, 10 different times that I have this story about this image that just made me become present to the moment. That was the only way I was going to get the shot. And, whether you're shooting people or landscapes, it really is so necessary to come back to being before we do anything with our camera, with, connecting with anyone. We got to know who we want to be first, right?
Mm-hmm. And remind yourself every day, every morning.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to give a shout out to Maureen Dinkins. Go follow her on YouTube and wherever you guys are. She has a great live meditation and yoga channel. And her little trick of just listening for the furthest sound is one of my favorite quick tips to become present. And I love what Alicia shared too. Like Mel Robbins says, set a goal for the day and ask yourself, who do you want to be? And write it down, remember it, use that as your anchor point. And, if you guys have ideas and you want to share them with us, please do. You can always tag us at Live Wonderful, and our hashtag is Live Wonderful. And we'll see you here next week. Let me bring my face back up. Where am I?
Sounds like your computer and everything dying.
I've lost. There I am. Dun, 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 and sharing. That's exactly what's happening. Dying at a perfect moment, ending right when we need to be ending. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Alicia. I love you. You're awesome.
Thank you. I love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.